because I've found a few things around the BETT event at the end of January that need revising. So on Monday at 12 Bar Cafe, between about 8:30 and 10, I'll be talking about or trying to check. I think they've got Wi-Fi there. If not, I'll do it reasonably close by. Doing a top 20, or possibly top 10 of education sites on YouTube. That's to say, just by number of followers. So MIT is by far and away out in front. The reason for doing this is just to experiment a little bit, because last year there was a Digital Universities conference in Exeter, organised by Times Higher Education, and there's another one coming up in Lancaster in April, I think it is. So that's about a year between those two, and towards the end of last year, or December, there was a rankings table. I think it's called the online rankings, and it's similar to a lot of other tables that Times Higher Education produces, but it's the first one looking at a global ranking of online courses, and it sort of got lost in the bit before Christmas, so I don't think there was a lot of attention paid to it. But Neil Mosley, for example, wasn't very impressed by it, because the criteria weren't clear, and there wasn't a large enough sample of universities who had entered it to make it relate very well to whatever else was going on. I think that's a fair thing to say. They're revising it. There's going to be a meeting a few weeks' time, and I'm sure they'll continue it, and I hope it'll get more into a state where people can learn from it, because most of these things they're sort of useful in advertising and promotion, but they're really useful for sharing methods or different approaches that people could have. Liverpool and Essex were the two from the UK, and there were a lot of people who'd entered it but hadn't produced enough data to meet the methods. So we'll see what happens to all of that. But the idea of a YouTube one, and that's why there will be we don't know shows when I can get the internet connected to the desk, I'm sure. So we'll come back to this in future shows. But what I've found was a U-Switch survey from November 22, which is only UK and is much closer to what you might expect. So that the table of sites offering online degrees or courses it seems to include most of the people who you would hope would enter in with the THE approach at some later stage. But the main thing I notice about it, I don't think it's been updated since November 22, and it mentions lockdown quite a lot. So it just confirms my impression that for the education world, going online was a sort of blip. They had to do it. A lot of people don't think it worked very well, but then again, the resource wasn't there to do it in a planned sort of way, some would say. But somehow the move to continue that has sort of faltered. Maybe that's a fair thing to say. I don't know. We'll come back to it at another time. But anyway, that's why that U-Switch survey is there from November 22, and doing a list of sites just based on YouTube followers. Well, it will be interesting. As I say, I'll update it. There's one you can find on YouTube, and I will update it and say more about that next week. And then the I've done this twice, but it is interesting. Acer have invited us to a presentation about their new equipment at BETT, including their laptops with AI and a reasonable webcam and microphone, and I'm very interested in that. So I'm getting confused. I've found on YouTube a review of a laptop with a good webcam and microphone, and exactly what they're announcing the week after next at Excel, the BETT event. I'm not exactly sure, but we'll definitely go there, and that would be our question, because if in 12 bar next week we can get a reasonable bit of sound with a phone, then the next question is, if we had a laptop or some sort of portable device with a camera and a microphone and web access and connectivity, whether we could broadcast directly or store sound. So we're looking at it from a radio point of view. I don't really understand everything about how this has happened, but BETT Radio, I don't think is going to be there. Russell Prue, who's been there as long as I can remember, it might be 40 years. I haven't been going every year for 40 years, but I think he has been until this year. So I don't think there's a radio stand, or there's not a stand saying this is radio, but there will be stands offering transfers of sound. So that may be one of them. There may be. Well, obviously there are a lot of other suppliers, but they've obviously got at least one laptop with a microphone. So we'll try and find out a bit more about that as it goes on. But if anybody else has got any ideas, please tweet back WENOTNO.